of a very lengthy chapter, Rise of Nationalism in Europe. Namaste to all of you who have tuned in. It was pretty much easy, right? We have studied till the unification of Germany. We'll continue with the unification of Italy. Now, Italy, already you are very familiar with a person called Giuseppe Mazzini, right? He took the responsibility along with other states. Now, let's see. During the middle of the 19th century, Italy was divided into 7 parts. This is important. Okay, 7 parts, 7 states. Now, if you see, Italy was fragmented into 7 states, of which only one, that is the Sardinia, Piedmont, was ruled by an Italian princely house, and the rest, the north, was under Austrian Habsburg. The center was ruled by the Pope. Southern regions were under the domination of the Bourbon kings. So it was just fragmented. It was not united under a name called Italy. During the 1830s, Giuseppe Mazzini had sought to put together a coherent program. What is this coherent program? Unification of Italy. He had already set up a young Europe and young Italy, right? He had also formed a secret society called Young Italy for the dissemination. For this purpose, he had people. The failure of revolutionary uprisings both in 1831 and 1848 meant that the mantle now fell on the Sardinia Piedmont ruler Victor Emmanuel II to unify the Italian states through war. In the eyes of the ruling elites of this region, a unified Italy offered them chances of economic development and political dominance. So Victor Emmanuel II, he was helped with his chief minister Cavour, who led the movement to unify the regions through a tactful diplomatic alliance with France, engineered by Cavour because he knew some French. Sardinia Piedmont succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces in 1859. Apart from regular troops, a large number of armed volunteers under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi, Giuseppe Mazzini, Count Cavour joined the fray in 1860. They marched into South Italy and the Kingdom of Two Sicilies and succeeded in winning the support of the local peasants in order to drive out the Spanish rulers. In 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed the King of Unified Italy. It's very similar to unification of Germany. Don't get confused, guys. In Germany, it was Otto von Bismarck under the Prussian Empire. In Italy, it is Cavour under Victor Emmanuel. In Germany, it was Kaiser William. In Italy, it is Victor Emmanuel. Do not get confused. I'm telling you again, both questions are similar, so a lot of children get confused here. The next one is the strange case of Britain. Now, there was no British nation prior to the 18th century. The primary identities of the people who inhabited the British Isles were ethnic ones, such as English, who are obviously in Britain, Welsh in Wales, Scot in Scotland, Irish in Ireland. You remember, you have marked this in the 9th standard, right? 4 island groups. All of these ethnic groups had their own cultural and political traditions. But as the English nation, that is England or Britain, steadily grew in wealth, importance, and power, it was able to influence other nations. They are very small. Why it steadily grew? Because industrialization, right? They conquered other colonies in other parts of Europe, Asia, Africa. So the English nation grew in wealth. The English Parliament, which seized power from the monarchy in 1688 at the end of a protracted conflict, was the instrument through which a nation state with England at its center. Now, England wanted to get unified with these three islands that you see. So they brought out a law called as the Act of Union 1707 between England and Scotland that resulted in the formation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. The England was able to impose its influence on Scotland. The British Parliament was henceforth dominated by its English members. Now, how it happened, I'll tell you. Remember, England was primarily a Protestant country, not a Catholic country. The growth of British identity meant that Scotland's distinctive culture and political institutions were systematically suppressed. Why suppressed? Because majority Catholics. The Catholic clans that inhabited the Scottish Highlands suffered terrible repression. Why only the Catholic clans? Because England is a Protestant country. They do not want the Catholics there. Whenever they attempted to assert their independence, the Scottish Highlanders were forbidden to speak the Gaelic language, their language. Just Google it, the Scottish accent and the Irish accent. You would be surprised. It is English, but with the tone, the accent, very different. Of where the national dress, the bagpiper dress, the large numbers were forcibly driven out of their homeland. Just quoting a reason, as they were Catholics. Ireland also suffered a similar fate. It was a country deeply divided between the Catholics and the Protestants. The English helped the Protestants of Ireland because, yeah, I told you already, the religious reasons. Catholic country, because it was largely a Catholic country, Protestants were helped. Catholic revolts against British dominance were suppressed. There was a revolt led by Wolfe Tone and his gang of Irishmen, United Irishmen. It was also suppressed. Ireland was forcefully incorporated in the United Kingdom in 1801. Now, British nation is having Scotland, Ireland. So a new British nation was forged through the propagation of a dominant English culture. Symbols of the new Britain, that is the new British flag, the Union Jack. Even one time Indian people also had it. We also had it. The national anthem, God Save Our Noble King. English language were actively promoted and the older nations survived only as subordinate partners in this union. Till recently, when the Brexit happened, they were all together, right? Now separate. Now they have a different flag. England has a different flag. Now you might, if you are the follower of soccer, you will know that all the four countries have a different cricket team or soccer team too. Visualizing the nation. Nations were then portrayed as female figures. The female form that was chosen to personify the nation did not stand for any particular woman in real life. What is female figure? Now, if you have the nation which is portrayed in the form of a female, for example, we in India call our nation as Bharat Mata. Rather, it sought to give an abstract idea of a nation in a concrete form. What is allegory is abstract idea of a nation in a concrete form. Thus, a female figure became an allegory of the nation. During the French Revolution, artists used the female allegory to portray ideas such as liberty, justice, republic. These ideals were represented through specific objects or symbols. As you would remember, attributes of liberty are the red cap, broken chain, remember, from French Revolution? While justice is generally a blindfolded woman carrying a pair of weighing scales. In France, her name was Christine Marianne, popular Christian name which underlined the idea of people's nation. Her characteristics were drawn from those of liberty and the republic. The red cap, the tricolor, the cockade. Statues of Marianne were erected in public squares to remind the public of the national symbol of unity and to persuade them to identify with it. Now, in France, it was Marianne. In Germany, it was Germania. In Italy, it was Italia. So, different allegories in different nations. That is how they visualized their nation, right? In the form of a female figure. Ultimately, we have reached to the last part of the chapter. This is where the chapter is going to be ending, leading to an interesting, right? Balkan region area of conflicts. Now you will see there are regions in if you have an atlas, you see countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Serbia, Montenegro. They all form a region called as the Balkan region. What is unique about the Balkan region is it is ethnically varied, right? They are not similar and they are broadly called as Slavs, Yugoslavia, Slavs. Large number of part of Balkans were under the control of the Ottoman Empire. Remember, Greece was under control of Ottoman Empire. The spread of the ideas of romantic nationalism in the Balkans, together with the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire fell. Remember the Treaty of Constantinople in 1832. Cannot just write it with this one. Sorry for that. So suddenly when Ottoman Empire fell, this region became explosive. Through the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire had sought to strengthen itself through modernization and internal reforms, but with very little success. One by one, its European subject nationalities broke away from its control and declared independence. Everybody became independent. The Balkan peoples based their claims for independence or political rights on nationality, right? The rise of nationalism. Use history to prove that they had once been independent but later got subjugated by a foreign power. Hence, the rebellious nationalities in the Balkans thought their struggle as an attempt to win back the long lost independence. They wanted to be independent. Once they were independent, conquered by a foreign power, regaining the long lost independence. As the different Slavic nationalities struggled to define their identity and independence, the Balkan area became an area of intense conflict. There were small states fighting each other for conquering land, naval supremacy. They were fiercely jealous of each other. Each hoped to gain more territory at the expense of the others. Matters got complicated because the Balkan became the scene of big power rivalry. Now, this is just small states Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia fighting with each other. But remember, there are big fishes in the sea, right? This is the ocean where small fishes are fighting, and the big fish, Germany, France, Italy, England, they're all waiting. These rivalries were very evident in the way the Balkan problem unfolded. Each power, Russia, Germany, England, Austria, Hungary, was keen on countering the hold of other powers over the Balkans and extending its own control over the area. Now, what happened? There is a certain incident which took place. I won't mention it here. This led to a series of wars in the region, and finally, one such fine day, it led to the beginning of the First World War. That's where the chapter ends. Isn't it interesting, guys? The chapter ends with the beginning of the First World War, and the 12th starts with the First World War. If you would want to know more about the First World War, obviously we will cover, but not in very detail, the First World War. The incident which sparked the First World War, just read about it. Otherwise, I might be probably saying on some other day. Now that brings us to a very important chapter considering this exam syllabus. I hope you have gone through all the concepts. I hope that's why it took very less concepts. I hope you have understood all the things. As always, I say, if you have not understood, please feel free to write back to me, or else we will have a Google Meet to discuss these issues. Right now, till the next chapter, it's goodbye from me. Now, this chapter has lot of questions. I will update the previous year questions. Please write the classwork and the homework and keep it ready.